The photograph, worn at the edges and faded with time, showed a pilot in a cockpit, a wide grin on his face. The aircraft around him was unlike the sleek, elegant fighters of the time. It was stout, muscular, and had a barrel-like fuselage. This was the P-47 Thunderbolt, and its story is one of brute force, surprising agility, and unmatched resilience. It wasn't the graceful air dancer many imagine, but as one airman put it, it was the hammer. The story of the P-47 Thunderbolt begins in the darkest days of World War II. By 1941, American bombers, like the mighty B-17 Flying Fortress and the B-24 Liberator, were flying daring daylight raids deep into Germany, targeting vital industrial centers. The strategy was to cripple the enemy's war machine from the air, but there was a deadly flaw in the plan. The bombers were doing so without a long-range escort. The American fighters of the time, such as the P-40 Warhawk, simply lacked the range to accompany the bombers for the entire mission. As a result, the bomber crews were on their own for hundreds of miles, a flying target for the German Luftwaffe. The German fighters, including the nimble Messerschmitt Bf-109 and the formidable Focke-Wulf FW-190, were having a field day, picking off the slow, unescorted bombers with ruthless efficiency. The casualties were staggering, and morale was plummeting. The Allied leadership knew a new fighter was desperately needed, one that could go the distance, take a beating, and dish one out. Republic Aviation's chief designer, Alexander Kartveli, delivered a revolutionary solution. He didn't focus on creating a small, light fighter. Instead, he designed a behemoth of an aircraft built around the most powerful radial engine in the world at the time, the 2,000-horsepower Pratt & Whitney R2800 Double Wasp. This engine was a technological marvel, a twin-row 18-cylinder powerhouse that gave the P-47 its raw performance. The sheer size of the engine dictated the rest of the plane's design. The P-47, affectionately nicknamed the Jug by its pilots for its resemblance to a milk jug, was a monster. At over 10,000 pounds empty, it was the largest and heaviest single-engine fighter of the war. Its initial size and weight led German pilots to scoff at it, but they would soon learn to fear the Jug's raw power and incredible durability. The P-47's arrival in the European theater in early 1943 was a turning point. Its primary mission was to be a bomber escort, a little friend to the B-17s and B-24s. Its large internal fuel capacity, combined with external drop tanks that could be jettisoned when empty, allowed it to fly alongside the bombers all the way to their targets deep inside Germany and back. This was a monumental shift in the air war. Previously, bomber crews had been fighting alone for a large part of their missions. Now, they had protection. The P-47's performance in a high-altitude dogfight was a revelation. While it couldn't outturn a Bf-109 in a tight circle, its immense power and weight made it an exceptional diver. It could plummet from high altitude to gain speed and momentum, and then use that energy to climb back into the fight. In the hands of a skilled pilot, the P-47 could outmaneuver the more nimble German fighters in a vertical fight. American ace pilot Gabby Gabreski, who scored all of his 28 victories in a P-47, praised his performance, saying, "It meant that I could do combat with the enemy over his territory at all altitudes, and I could break off at will. I had more power than he had, and I could corkscrew, go up to altitude, and he couldn't follow me." Its armament was equally impressive. 8 50 caliber Browning machine guns, 4 in each wing. This staggering firepower could unleash a hail of lead weighing over 100 pounds a minute, a stream of metal so dense it could rip an enemy aircraft to shreds in a single short burst. This sheer volume of fire was a terrifying sight for German pilots. As the war progressed and Allied air superiority was established, the P-47's role expanded from simply a high-altitude escort to a ground attack terror. Its ruggedness, heavy armament, and ability to carry a large payload of bombs and rockets made it the ideal fighter bomber. The P-47 became a terrifying sight for German ground forces, destroying trains, tanks, trucks, and troop convoys with brutal efficiency. Its toughness was legendary. The air-cooled radial engine was incredibly resilient, able to absorb a tremendous amount of damage and still keep running, unlike liquid-cooled engines, which could be brought down by a single bullet hitting a coolant line. The P-47's engine was a fortress. The pilot was also protected by the massive engine and the turbo supercharger system, which was located behind the cockpit. Stories of P-47 seconds returning to base with gaping holes in their wings and fuselages were commonplace. A pilot named Robert Johnson, who flew 88 missions in the P-47, recounted a harrowing experience where his plane took hits from a Focke-Wulf FW-190. He said, "The cockpit was full of smoke and holes, but the engine was still running, and the plane was still flying. I was amazed." This incredible durability was a source of pride for the pilots. Lieutenant Colonel Francis Gabreski stated, "It's the most durable fighter plane I ever flew. It would take a hell of a lot of punishment. The P-47 was so tough it was affectionately called the jug that brings you home." This reputation was a major morale booster for the pilots who flew it, knowing that even a heavily damaged plane had a good chance of returning them safely to base. The P-47's ground attack missions were a brutal but necessary part of the war. Its ability to provide close air support to ground troops was critical during the Normandy invasion and the subsequent Allied push into Germany. P-47 pilots flew thousands of sorties, paving the way for Allied ground forces. Its attacks on German supply lines, especially railroads, choked the enemy's ability to reinforce and resupply their troops. General Dwight D. Eisenhower himself praised the aircraft, stating, "The P-47 Thunderbolt was a decisive factor in our success in the European theater." The P-47's contributions were immense. It flew over 500,000 combat sorties and was credited with destroying more than 7,000 enemy aircraft. Its firepower and durability made it an essential tool for winning the war in both Europe and the Pacific. It wasn't the prettiest plane, but it was reliable, powerful, and tough. The P-47 wasn't just a machine, it was a symbol of American industrial might and the spirit of the pilots who flew it. It was the Jug, a plane that was big, beefy, and built to survive. Its design philosophy, prioritizing ruggedness, survivability, and a massive payload, continues to influence military aviation. Today, its legacy lives on in the A-10 Thunderbolt II, better known as the Warthog. A modern ground attack aircraft that carries on the same spirit of a heavily armed, rugged, and survivable warplane. The A-10's official name, Thunderbolt II, is a direct tribute to its famous predecessor. The Jug might be gone from the skies, but the thunder it brought to the war remains a powerful part of aviation history, a testament to a unique aircraft that proved that sometimes the best way to fight is with a hammer. I hope you all enjoyed this video. The P-47 is definitely one of my favorite warbirds. I hope someday I can see one at an air show or I can find one in a museum. Also, feel free to like and subscribe and drop a comment if you want. And also check me out on Facebook for updates and other fun stuff. Have a great day, everyone, and I will see you later.